anybody have any chapters that are outstanding that need to be done? Chapters are outstanding? No? And hold on a second. Marianne? Elizabeth? Miller? You guys can talk after. Okay, so let's go. Anybody have any outstanding PowerPoint presentations for the chapters? No? Okay. And then next Wednesday, I'm going to have Sarah Vittel. Does anybody know Sarah? Yeah, Sarah's awesome. She's going to come in. She's going to walk us through Mergent and stuff like that. Okay, for the your international bank valuation that you're going to do. Okay, and I do have a list of the banks that have already been picked. So I'll send this around, and for each of the teams, if you haven't already signed up for a bank, you may want to think about a bank. You can't use any American banks. You have to use global banks. Unfortunately, the Japanese banks are just as screwed up as the European banks are. If you want to be bold, do a European bank. Because Commerzbank and Deutsche will probably merge. So if you do a Deutsche, I can walk you through what it's like to value a target company, and then what it's like to be an acquire or bank, because there will probably be some dilution in the acquire or's stock, and there'll probably be some premium with the target company, although Deutsche is in pretty bad shape. So I'm going to need to work with the teams very closely on those. I mean, the analysis is pretty straightforward, but you're not going to be able to get to the current stock prices in most situations using the 4 intrinsic valuation methodology. So I'm going to have to work with you on how to get to the stock price. Okay. And then if you have any outstanding deliverables or components, you need to show me. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll spend the next couple weeks finishing up the deliverable 1s, finishing up deliverable 2, doing presentations, the chapter presentations, doing some problems, kind of the same thing, but you should be focusing on remediating any of the deliverable 1 components, and then working on putting your deliverable 2 package together. Okay, so it's not rocket science. It's just a lot of work. So the market updates. So first thing, anybody tracking any global events right now? Anybody tracking? I know you guys got back from Easter break and stuff. But is there anything major that we should be thinking about on a global basis from a systemic standpoint? Is anybody watching the global markets? Stock markets, bond markets? I think the oil embargoes, on Iran. I think Iran's even threatened to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. The oil traders are saying we could go to $100 a barrel here pretty soon. We're already at 75, and if we go to 100, it's going to cost us $5 a gallon here in California, particularly in the Bay Area, which is the most expensive place to buy gas in the United States. If you don't drive, then it doesn't really matter. But if you do drive a car, it does add up. Trust me. Any other events? It's an international financial management class. Any other events? Okay, you can pull it out of your head if you're doing the research on the computers, and that's why we have a computer lab. So if I'm asking questions, you should be Googling, searching. I mean, I hear now that once you walk into corporate, you better have your phone, you better have your laptop, you better have your tablet, it better be ready to go. Because they're going to be asking you questions, and they want the answers now. It's not tomorrow anymore or this afternoon. You guys have access to the information, like right now. Get the information and give it to me.
About a week and a half ago, Trump threatened to close the border with the Mexican border.
Yeah, do you know what the estimated cost per day would be in disrupted trade?
I would assume it's in the hundred thousands.
100,000s or 100 billions?
Sure.
Yeah, it's like in the hundreds of millions. That would be a big deal. Anything else? Where are bond yields doing right now? Where's the yield curve out of Europe? Where's the yield curve out of Japan? What's the Nikkei doing? What did the DAX do? What's going on in London right now? Is Theresa May going to last? Is Brexit going to go through? Did they delay it with Brussels?
Euro-Asian inflation inflation is up in both Europe and Asia. Inflation is going up right now.
Okay, what would that do to the interest rates?
Down, right?
If interest rates go up, what happens to the, if inflation goes up, what happens to the interest rates using the Fisher equation? So we're gonna be asking these questions over and over again until the end of the semester. So if inflation expectations go up, what happens to nominal interest rates using the Fisher equation? I don't know, do you guys take notes? Have you been taking notes in class? You know, I usually try to take like 20 pages of notes every class, so I can refer to them. So if inflation expectations are going up, what happens to nominal interest rates? Kyle? If inflation expectations go up, what happens to nominal interest rates?
Oh, I said it goes down, is that wrong?
Okay, how's that work? Somebody else. If inflation expectations go up, what happens to nominal interest rates? Thank you, Jacob, they go up. And if nominal interest rates go up, on a differential basis, if interest rates are going up and inflation is going up, but interest rates are going up more in Europe than they are in the United States, what's gonna happen to capital flows?
We're gonna stop going into Europe and come back.
Okay, if interest rates are going up faster and higher in Europe compared to the United States, what's gonna happen to capital flows? If interest rates are going up in Europe compared to the United States, what's gonna happen to capital flows?
People are going to invest in the US, right?
Are they gonna invest in the US or are they gonna invest more in Europe? If interest rates are rising in Europe,
Like bonds?
yes, risk-free rates.
Europe.
What's gonna happen to capital flows? They're gonna go to Europe. Okay, what's that gonna do to the euro? It's gonna strengthen the euro. What's that gonna do to the dollar?
Depreciate.
It's gonna cause it to depreciate. What's that gonna do to our exports?
Make them more
If the dollar's
expensive.
cheaper, if the dollar's cheaper, are there gonna be more or less exports? More exports. If there's more exports, what's gonna happen to GDP in the United States? Is it gonna go up or down? It's gonna go up, okay? It's a game, okay? It's a game. That's all it is. You gotta learn the rules of the game. It's all financial economics. We're now in an international finance class, okay? All right, so give me on Wednesday, on Friday, give me an update on the global stock market, the bond market. Where's Brent crude trading right now per barrel? Brent. Is Brent are we using West Texas Intermediary or are we using Brent? Brent. And where's Brent priced out of?
$73.68.
Yeah, but where's it priced out of? Is it the United States or is it out of the Middle East? Brent crude prices compared to West Texas Intermediary. Oh, I said it, West Texas Intermediary. So where's it priced out of? Where's Brent priced out of? Yeah, it's out of Europe. Okay. And then what about foreign currency exchange? Where's the dollar to the pound, dollar to the euro today? Where's the dollar to the pound, dollar to the euro trading today? Or the dollar to the yen, or the dollar to the ruble, or the dollar to the peso?
$1.99.
Yeah, give it to me reverse. How much does it cost for me? How much does it cost for us to buy €1? What's it been trading at all semester?
1.3.
Is that the euro or the pound?
Oh, pound.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so where's the euro trading right now?
1.12.
1.12, is it up or down for the week? It's down for the week?
Yeah.
So what did the dollar do? Did it appreciate or depreciate?
Appreciate.
Appreciate, got it, okay. Okay, so that's the game. Okay, deliverable 1, this is basically the deliverable. You may want to focus on this. This is the deliverable 2 requirements. First is I need to see the makeup work for deliverable 1. And I think there's maybe two people in class, I think, that haven't submitted deliverable 1 yet. So you should probably come see me when you do that. Just don't hand that in to me. And then in deliverable 2, I'm going to need the 4 stock, the 4 market memos, the global stocks, global bonds, Brent, oil prices, where you think it's going to go, and then foreign exchange. You could do pound, euro, yen, ruble, peso. You know, I don't care. You can pick one and then tell me where you think it's going to. If it's going to appreciate or depreciate over the next 3 months. Okay, and then give me the economic factors, and then give me the trade recommendations, the derivative trade recommendations. And then homework, did everybody get one of these? And then give me homework number 2. Make sure there's a cover page on that, and make sure it's stapled together. People keep handing me stuff in unstapled, and it really slows me down in my TAs to be able to grade that stuff. Everything should be an individual mini deliverable within the, the deliverable package. Okay. And then I would start trading the CME platform. I know I've been promising you to go through that. I will go through that, but if you can log in, set up an account, and start trading some of the derivatives, that would be awesome. The article worksheets. Did everybody get the article worksheet? Everybody have copies of that? Do you have enough of those? Okay, you're going to do 2 more articles, so you do 5 total. You've already done 1, so you're going to do 2 more, and then for the final, you're going to basically consolidate all 5 of the articles into a mini research report, okay, on a subject. I don't know, I think I've gone around to everybody and talked to you about what your paper's gonna be on and what subject area. If you haven't done that, you're still not clear, you need to talk to me about that. Okay, so that we're clear about, what your focus is gonna be in your research paper, okay? And since you've already done 1, 2 more should be relatively easy. Make sure you show me the equations. If you can, or some equations, some Greek, on those worksheets, and definitely list the data sources, okay, and the variables, okay, because that's the first thing I look at is what's the model structure that's being used to do the statistics, and then what are the variables that they're using to conduct the statistical analysis, and then where they get the data. Those are, and then major takeaways, obviously, from the research. Notes from the instructor lectures, I handed those out. Did I give you a blue book with that, or did I just hand that out? Yeah, the slide. I just gave those to you.
He just gave us a slide.
Uh,
He gave us
okay.
notes.
Okay, well, if you can just put the notes next to it, so that I know that you were here, and you saw the presentation, and you took some notes. It's one thing to just sit there and not take notes. But to sit there and take notes means that you're actively engaged in the learning process. It's really easy to just take that stuff, not put anything in there, and then hand it back to me as though you did something. I don't know if you did anything until you write something that you actually did something. Okay. People do that all the time. They hand me stuff that I've already handed out to them without any comments on it. So I'm getting the same thing back without any comments, and it's like, why are you giving it back to me? Do something. And then the chapter presentations, I still get people that are giving me chapter presentations of the presentations that they've made from the chapters, either 1 slide per page, or they're giving it to me from Google, what's it called? Google Slides or whatever. They're not converting it to PowerPoint and using the 3 slides with the notes in PowerPoint, which is the way we do it when we're handing out presentations to boards of directors before we make the presentations, particularly the preliminary presentations that we're making, so that they can put notes on next to the slides and then give us their notes if their handwriting is legible, so we can basically take their comments and integrate them back into the presentation, so that when we do the final or the second to final presentation, we've got their comments integrated into the presentation so that they're buying off on the presentation before we actually do it in front of the board or the investment committee or the client. Okay. And then the in-class problems. Some people have actually left their problems here in class instead of taking them with them, signing and dating them, and then actually I would put those problems in with your homework problems. So I get all the problems in one stack, okay, with a cover page to it, okay. And then the take-home midterm should be relatively easy. I did bring in some of the books that are helpful when reading the developing stock market paper that I read, and then filling out the take-home portion of the developing stock markets. And actually, those books are really good as a basis for your international stock and bond market fact sheets. Okay, and I'll get to those in a second. And then you should be working with me if you're still totally confused on how to do the global stock portfolio or the fund of funds portfolio, you need to come see me, okay? So I can walk you through how to do the calculations and guide you through it. If you're ever dead in the water in any of these classes, you probably want to talk to the professor, okay? Because they can kind of guide you through it and make it a little bit easier than trying to guess and getting frustrated and just letting it sit there. We can kickstart it and actually help you through the process a lot quicker, okay? So if you're having problems with the global stock portfolio, you need to, especially if you started it, you should have me take a look at it so I can check it and make sure that you're moving through the methodology correctly. And then make sure that you print out the iShares fact sheets and staple them to that question 2, so I can see where you got your data, so I can double check the data from the fact sheet with the worksheet and make sure that you're not just making stuff up or copying from somebody else, okay? So you have to print out, make sure you print out the iShares MSCIX ETF, as your benchmark. And then give me the 5 country funds. I use iShares because it's just one source, it's consistent, but you could use, another, you could use Van Eck or Fidelity or Schwab or, whoever you want. I think iShares does or Franklin Funds actually developed some of the first mutual funds and ETFs on foreign countries, like 30 years ago. And then the third question is foreign direct investment. That research piece that I did there was very similar to the questions that I asked you in regards to the multiple regressions to forecast depreciation rates on foreign currency. The dependent variable, or the independent variables are basically the same in forecasting foreign direct investment as it is in depreciation rates for the individual currencies. So it's a good guide, it's a good review, it's a really simple paper, walks you through, what the factors are in forecasting foreign direct investment for different countries. Because not all the factors are the same. They're slightly different for different countries depending on where they're located and the comparative advantages and their institutional structures, their governments, the development of their capital markets, private property rights enforcement, all of those factors basically are factored in to the being able to forecast FDI. And then Kyle Bass, that's a worksheet you needed to go out and watch, some of the videos, from Kyle. You don't need to spend more than probably 20 or 40 minutes, watch 2 videos, 20 minutes each, and just get into this guy's brain, and try to figure out how he thinks, okay? Because that's pretty much where you want to go, okay? He's probably one of the most prolific hedge fund managers out there. You can't get really any information on him, but I'll tell you, he integrates all of the institutional factors within his analysis. He knows his cognitive science, he knows sociology, he knows psychology, politics, public administration, law, philosophy, theology, and then melds that into economic analysis, financial analysis, and then trading, of sovereign securities on a global basis, looking for arbitrage in this pricing on a continuous basis. He only made I think he made 25 or 125 million shorting the residential mortgage-backed securities market during the financial crisis. So, I don't know, can you live off 125 million? I think I could. You want to resubmit your global passive portfolio report. I think I've gone over, checked that, I think for everybody. But if you still want me to take another look at it, I want to take another look at it. Make sure the memo is done correctly and formatted correctly. A lot of you didn't have the headers up at the top of the table flush along the top. You need to be flush along the top. And then the top row, because it's a double line, you need to center the numbers within the row. Okay, you already have them centered in the column, they need to be centered in the row. So formatting is a big deal when you submit these memos to somebody. Okay, particularly a board or investment committee or a client, they're going to look at that stuff. They look at that stuff. They're looking for errors in your communications, in your correspondence. And actually, a lot of the senior level executives love to catch associates that have made grammatical or spelling or capitalization or formatting mistakes. They just love to catch you, okay? And then they'll grill you right in front of everybody. So you want to make sure that somebody takes a look at everything before you submit it. Have somebody else take a look at it, or before you do the presentation, definitely. Okay, and then give me the worksheets. Make sure that you have the team on the worksheets. Make sure that you have the right date. Some of you were quoting 2018. It wasn't updated. And make sure the worksheets are centered in the middle of the page. And then the PowerPoint presentation should be 3 per page with the notes on it, and then that should be stapled together as one report. So once I sign off on that report and there's no edits, that thing's ready to go as a writing sample to somebody, okay? And actually all these things, if you do a really nice job on these, a lot of these components of the deliverable can be used as individual samples, or the whole thing can be used as a portfolio to show somebody your capabilities, okay? And they love it. They love it when you do that stuff. And then the stock market fact sheets. I would say I signed off on most of them, but I'd like to take another look at them again. I think the only thing that was missing on most of them was dates in which you collected the data or updated the data on the fact sheets. And the other was you had the yield curves identified, but you didn't have the performance benchmark of the foreign stock market against the MSCIX. So if you gave me the stock market performance minus the MSCIX global performance, then you could subtract the two and give me a basis points, the alpha performance on the stock market compared to the global benchmark. And then when you do, I'd like you to do 2 emerging bond markets. You can use the same. You can use the same emerging markets that you used for the stock market. So a lot of the data is not going to change. What is going to change is your focus is going to be on the size of the debt market, the sovereign and the corporate debt market. So I need some statistics there. And then for the bond market, what you're going to do is I would leave the stock market performance in there. It's kind of hard to cram everything in there, so you may have to cram it in there. But then show me the basis point spreads. Show me the yield curve for the sovereign country, and then or a corporate bond yield curve for the country, minus their risk-free. Or maybe use the German, or use, if you do in Asia, maybe use Japan. What I want you to do is calculate like you did on the exam, the quiz, when you traced out the yield curves, and then you subtracted the country yields to the U.S., or Germany. You had the U.S. minus the German and U.S. minus the Japan, and you were calculating the differentials, the basis point differentials. So for the bond fund, what you want to do is I would use the country yield curve, or the country's corporate yield curve, which would be even more interesting, and then maybe use a stable market or some other risk-free interest rate within that region to calculate the yield spreads between the host country yields and then a risk-free global, so you can see the spread differentials, the risk premiums, right, that the country has compared to a stable country. Because those risk premiums tell you a lot about credit default risk, instability within the country, illiquidity, lack of institutional development, lack of capital market development, lack of financial institutional development. It's all reflected within those yield spreads. Yeah, Matt.
Because there is sometimes a lot of information to cram into a small amount, into a small page, would you prefer that I play with the margins or the text size?
I'd rather have you do the margin, and if anything, you could take out the stock market performance piece and put the bond market in there.
Okay,
So just swap it out.
okay.
You don't need it. If you have room, that's great. If you don't have room, just take that out. But I would use the same format to calculate the spreads.
Okay.
Okay, and if you already have the yield curve in there, you just need to calculate the spreads. Okay, any other questions on those back sheets? No? Okay. And then if you take notes in class, you actually take notes, include the notes in the deliverable so I can see that you're actively engaged in the note-taking process. And then give me your resume and your business card. Make sure if your resume has been update and has gone through Mary Beth, I think I'm at the point now where I will actually take a look at it. And if you want me to sit down with you or spend 5 minutes to go over how to add the value add metrics, because she doesn't do that. She does a great job of making it business level worthy. But if you work with me, I'll interview you and figure out the value that you actually added in metric terms and put that in your resume, either in volume or in dollar amounts, and that should be bolded in your resume so that you can show people that these are the jobs that I did, this is the number of calls that I made, this is the number of clients that I converted, this is the average client amount that we get when we convert the client multiplied by the number of clients that you converted, and you put a dollar amount in there. That's huge. And if you don't have a job lined up yet and you're graduating, you probably want to make a business card. Okay, you probably still want a business card. Okay, because Berkeley has it, Stanford has it, MIT has it, Georgetown, Chicago, UCLA, USC. I mean, all those schools, undergrad and grads, all have business cards so that they can network and get stuff done. Okay. Any other questions? So I think you have plenty of time to do this. Basically, you got 2 weeks, okay, to do it. And then I'll hand out on Friday some problems, and we can do some problems next week. I'll have Sarah come in on Wednesday. I'll work with you on Monday to remediate anything in regards to deliverable 1 or deliverable 2, and then we should do the presentations, the chapter presentations next Friday, and then I have a couple presentations I want to do. 2 on global comparative advantages, and some presentations that I've given to some Chinese delegates that have come over to pick my brain, on how you create efficient capital markets in Asia, and then how do you incubate small tech startups by geographic region within China, which I thought was pretty interesting too. Okay. Any comments? You can use the rest of the time. I'll meet with people for the rest of the class. I'll go over anything